So, in our last class, we saw an exception raised in a program is a disadvantageous fact. When an exception is arising, on which line, on which statement, from that line, the execution process is stopping. As a result, the remaining statement never getting a chance to execute. So the program is abnormally terminating. So Java providing an exception handling mechanism. So that mechanism we will use to handle exception. So this mechanism it consists five keywords. That means by using five keywords, we will handle exceptions. One is try, one is catch, one is finally, one is throw, one is throws keyword. Throws keyword that already we had discussed. Throws keyword in our last class already we had discussed. Throws keyword is used to handle checked exception. So what is a try? Basically, try is a block. Basically, it is containing a risky code. Risky code. So what do you mean by risky code? On which line, on which statement exception is arising. So that line or that statement we can say that is risky code. So on which statement exception is arising. So that line we will represent or we will specify within a try block. Then according to the concept, there is a close bonding in between try block and catch block. That means without catch, try is meaningless. Without try, catch is meaningless. So what is catch? Catch is also a block. It is looking like method definition. It is looking like method definition. Basically, whatever the code we will write within a catch block, that is called as handling code. So what do you mean by handling code? So within bracket, any exception reference. Then which exception reference I will take that is important. So what I told catch block, you see it is looking like a method definition. This parenthesis and some one argument that we are taking, then curly bracket begin and some code. It is looking like completely method definition, but it is a block. The most important point is within parenthesis, which argument that we will take. So, an exception reference. An exception reference means which exception? In our last class, we had studied every exception is one built-in child class, arithmetic exception, array index out of bounds exception. These are one built-in class. And these are the child class. Parent class is runtime exception. Then runtime exception parent is exception. Then exception parent is throwable. This point that we have known. Okay, so we will see by taking an example, we will see. So using try and catch, how we are handling exception. So I will go to my Eclipse environment, new class. Suppose package name, suppose I will give com.ceylon. Okay, suppose I will write exception, example 1. Select main method, click on finish. Suppose int x equals to 10 by 0. So this line representing an exception that already we have seen. This line, when it is executing, the control is not able to evaluate what exactly this line output. So this is an exception. So if this is an exception, so what I will say, suppose let it some remaining statement. Same example, first example again I am writing system.out.println. Hi, system.out.println. Hello, system.out.println. Let 10 by 5. So if this line representing an exception, then these are the remaining statement. These remaining statements so cannot execute. So as per the concept, currently what I was telling, if this line is exception, I will write within a try block. I will write within a try block. Okay. So we specified that line within try. So try block is a such block which is basically containing a risky code. But that does not mean that we cannot write any other code, normal code that we cannot write. No, we can write, but as less as possible. Always we will try to write the code, normal code within a try block. Then, according to the concept, what the concept is saying, when a statement inside the try block, the control found that is an exception. On that line, control will jump, control will transfer to the catch block. So immediately we have to represent catch block. Catch block. Then within parentheses, currently I was telling an exception reference that we will take. An exception reference. So which exception? The type of exception raised in here inside the try block. So when int x equals to 10 by 0, when this statement is executing and which exception is arising. So that exception reference we have to take here. So this is arithmetic exception. So we have to write arithmetic exception, let A be. So it should match. Then we will write suppose system.out.println. Let Java programming. So whatever the statement we are writing within catch block, this is called as a handling. So what do you mean by handling code? So if this line will come to the picture, if this line will execute Java programming, we saw it is what coming to our picture. That means exception is handled. How we will know exception is handled? So happily remaining statement will execute. Hi, then hello, then 10 by 5 that is 2. So if remaining statement will execute and we will get output, then we can say our exception handled. If exception is not handled, then the remaining statement cannot execute. If remaining statements are executing and if we will get the output, then we can say exception is handled. Okay, so this is the point. So whatever the type of exception, whatever the type of exception raised inside the try block, that type of exception reference that we have to take as an argument here. So it should match. It should match. If it will not match, suppose here arithmetic exception is arising, I will take a reference of null pointer exception. If it is not matching, then handling code will not execute. Catch block will not execute. If catch block will not execute, then exception is not handled. If exception is not handled, then whatever we have the remaining statement, that remaining statement cannot execute. So as usual, we will not get the output that is called as program is abnormally terminating. So you see, now I will save Control S. Now I will hit run. So you see, so happily we got the output. Java programming, hi, then hello, then to. So if we are getting output, we saw this output came to our picture. So this is called as normal termination. So if the program is normally terminating, that means whatever we had the exception, that exception handled. This is one point, and suppose if somebody there are question, what somebody may raise a question. Suppose this is a code, this is a line that we are writing. Suppose I am not able to identify exactly which type of exception is arising inside the try block. Then what I will write here? Suppose again I am repeating inside the try block. So whatever the exception is arising. Suppose I am not able to identify, I am not able to know which type of exception is arising. Then one point you will do, simply write exception. Because exception that in our last class, in our exception hierarchy that we have known. So exception is the parent class of all checked and unchecked exceptions. Exception is the parent class of all checked and unchecked exceptions. So here arithmetic exception, it is an unchecked exception. Whatever the exception we are getting at the runtime. Okay, so that is unchecked exception. So if we are not able to identify which type of exception arising inside the try block, then happily we will write this. You see, now I will hit run, same output. Now I will save, same output I will get. So I executed, you see same output I got. So using try and catch block in this way, an exception that we can handle. Okay, so there is a try block, there is a catch block, and some remaining statements that we have. So inside the try block, when an exception is arising from this line, the control will jump to the catch block and the control will check the type of exception raised inside the try block. So that type of exception reference the programmer have taken or not. So if it will match, then catch block will execute. So basically catch block containing handling code. So once catch block will execute, then our exception is handled. How we will know exception is handled? Because whatever we have the remaining statement, if the remaining statement will execute and we will get the output, so then we got the clarity. So our exception is handled. We got the output and program is normally terminating. So I hope you got the clarity.